People come in late, they just don't have to catch up. So, good morning. My name is Jenny Stang. I am the Caregiver Outreach Specialist for Alabama Lifespan Respite. And this is our June education stipend opportunity for, I don't know why I said for. It's our education stipend opportunity. And what that means is that if you participate today and you fill out the post survey that I send you, those of you who are participating as unpaid caregivers will receive a $25 stipend from us as a way to help offset some of the costs that may be associated with you attending today. So a lot of times, you don't have someone to sit with your loved one while you attend these trainings unless you pay them. And so as a way to encourage you and to support you in participating, we like to offer one a month where you can get that stipend. That being said, if you are a paid respite provider or an agency representative joining us today, you are not eligible for the stipend. It is only for unpaid caregivers. So if you're interested in filling that out and getting that stipend, please put your email address in the chat. Anyone who's done that, I will get the survey out to you today. Fill it out within 24 hours, and then you will get that stipend from us mailed out to you within 30 days. So with that all being said, now that the preamble's out of the way, I want to get started on our information for today. So I'm going to go over the 7 dimensions of wellness. And this will probably be a little bit shorter than some of my other trainings because a lot of it's pretty straightforward. But it's really the purpose is to get you thinking about how you can incorporate wellness, whole wellness into your lives, into your caregiving journey. A lot of times when we think of wellness, we think of nutrition, we think of physical exercise, we think of taking care of our bodies, maintaining that, and that's definitely part of it. But there are multiple ways to promote whole health. And as we get into the talk today, you'll see that there's a delicate dance, there's a balance to wellness. And so my goal here is to give you some inspiration on how you can maybe address some of these areas of your life that maybe you have been neglecting or maybe you didn't think about were part of wellness, and give you some suggestions. And of course, you're going to have your own ideas of wellness and what that looks like to you. So I don't want you to feel like this is the only way to be well, because that's definitely not what I'm trying to say. But I just want to give you, again, some inspiration on maybe how you can find more balance in your lives and address some of these other areas. So let's go ahead and get into the information. So what is wellness? So most of this information is based off of the research by Peggy Swarbrick, and she is an occupational therapist and a researcher. And she defines wellness as a conscious, deliberate process that requires being aware of and making choices for a more satisfying lifestyle. And it says it is marked not by the absence of illness or stress, but by the presence of elements like purpose in your life, joy in your relationships, and satisfying work and play. So that's kind of the tone we're going to set for today. Okay, wellness isn't just about going to the gym and eating like a vegan and all that, which is wonderful if that's what you choose to do, but it is a whole health thing. So we're going to address 7 different dimensions of wellness. Okay, so when we create balance, that's really the only way we can be well, right? Of course, there's going to be times in our life where we can't be as balanced as we'd like to be, but the goal is to just try to find that equilibrium when we can. So creating balance in our lives is a very important part of our overall wellness. A balanced life can be many things depending on your culture, your circumstances, your resources, and other factors. So there's really no one size fits all when it comes to balance. But it really just means making sure that we have time to do the things that make us feel happy and the things that make us feel fulfilled, right? A lot of times we get so caught up in our to-do list that we forget about our wants lists, right? And sometimes satisfying those wants as far as the things that make us joyful and bring us pleasure are often neglected in our caregiving journeys. And so again, this is just really to prompt you to just take inventory of your own life and find out where you might be needing a little bit more balance, where you might need to create that and become more fulfilled. So balance can include the work that you do, whether that's paid or unpaid, having fun, spending time with family and friends, participation in community, being physically active, doing a prayer or meditation practice, relaxing and sleeping. Sometimes we don't even get the chance to sleep the way we want to sleep. But because each of us have individual needs and preferences and capabilities, what we consider balance can look very different from person to person, and that's okay. But it is important for us to rebalance from time to time and adjust to what's going on in our lives. So when we're trying to get through a tough time, so whether that's stress, illness, trauma, emotional challenges, balance is especially important. So in these times, our habits and routines can help us to get that feeling of control back. And so that means focusing on ourselves as well as the roles that we play in the lives with others, like being students, friends, parents, spouses, coworkers, hobbyists, just citizens all around, okay? So the first dimension we're going to talk about is emotional wellness. So emotional wellness dimension involves the ability to express feelings and adjust to emotional challenges, cope with life stresses, and enjoy our lives. It includes knowing our strengths as well as what we want to get better at and living and working on our own, but letting others help us from time to time. And so here's a few suggestions on how we can improve our emotional wellness. And again, these might not be good ideas for your lifestyle and your needs and your desires, but they're just some tips, okay, to kind of get you thinking. So we can improve our emotional wellness in 3 different areas: feelings and emotions, our self-care, and some stress. So some ways we can improve our emotional wellness and our feelings and our emotions is reflecting each day on our emotions and what they can teach us and how we can express them. If you've been to any of my trainings, you know that I don't believe in bad feelings or negative emotions. It's just really the way that we respond to those feelings. I think every emotion we have is there to show us something, to teach us something, to serve a purpose. So it's important for us to reflect on those emotions and how we feel during the day and why we express the way we do, okay? Find a place where we feel the most comfortable and go there when we feel like we need a place of comfort, a quiet space, or safety. This can be huge for those of us who are maybe not as, what's the word I'm looking for? We can't leave the house as often as we'd like to. We can't just, drive off into a nice quiet space somewhere and enjoy nature. We have to find those spaces in our own home. And so it can even just be something as simple as just a nice space in your bedroom, right? Maybe that you keep it looking a certain way, feeling a certain way, that you feel safe and comfortable in that space. So whatever that looks like to you, finding that quiet space to reflect can be very important for our emotional well-being. We can develop regular habits that help us process and deal with our feelings, so we can move on and fulfilling our emotional needs. And this, I think, is where introspection comes into play. Journaling can be useful for that kind of process. Of course, I always say journaling is good for you, and then I also admit that I never do it, but the research is pretty sound that journaling is a good option for you if you need to express yourself emotionally and maybe don't have the space or a companion or somebody that you can confide in that way. A journal can be a great substitute. Next, self-care. Discover what we like to do best and do it often. It will help you keep your spirits and emotions up. And I think sometimes when we think of self-care, it's always like indulgences, right? Like, a long bubble bath or decadent chocolate cake or something like that. When that definitely can be self-care. But I think also we need to think of just things that we enjoy doing, right? That's self-care. And that could be painting, that could be singing, that could be, well, I can't think of anything else, but that could be anything that you enjoy doing as part of your self-care regimen, okay? Practice positive self-affirmations. Develop positive statements to repeat to yourself daily. And when you change your thoughts, you can change your mood and your attitude. And this is actually backed by research. The way that we think about ourselves and our circumstances, the perspective we take on things, can impact our mental health either negatively or positively. Sometimes it might seem that we're encouraged to kind of slap on a sunny face and, pretend to be happy when we're not. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying find ways that we can combat that negativity bias that we have, that anxiety that talks to us, that saboteur that talks to us and tells us all the things we're not doing well. An act of self-care in our emotional wellness can be trying to find positive statements, affirmations that we can say to contrast some of those negative thoughts that we might be having every day. Identify resources that can help with a sleep schedule or meal planning. Sometimes I know when I've got a busy week ahead, I don't want to meal plan, I don't want to prep, but I do it for my future self. So that's self-care, knowing that there's going to be a time coming up where I'm not going to have the energy reserves. I'm not going to have the time to do these things. And so I take the time to prepare for those moments. And I tell you, when I know that I've got something in the freezer, I can just pop in the oven. I don't have to spend an hour and a half in the kitchen cooking or cleaning. That I'm very grateful for my past self for preparing that for my future self. So that's just an option that you can think about. And then again, take some time for yourself regularly. I know if you are taking advantage of our respite reimbursement program, you may have, you can squirrel away some time here and there, but try to do it on a regular basis if you can. I know that's not an option for everybody, but even if you can just take an hour, every weekend, that's just for you. That can really help with your emotional wellness. And then stress. So take a step back when you're in a stressful situation, right? The goal is to respond and not react to high stress situations. And that takes a lot of practice, but it's definitely doable. Practice finding positives in something that you feel is negative. And you can support others while doing this as well. Okay, so that kind of goes back to what I was saying before about the positive affirmations. You can practice deep breathing or other relaxation techniques. I'll tell you right now, when someone tells you to just take a deep breath when you're stressed, that can almost seem a little insensitive, right? Because sometimes you're like, I'm already breathing. How is this going to make me calm down? But we do have a biological response when we are stressed. And a lot of that, it's kind of kicking us into a fight, flight, freeze kind of situation. And a lot of times when we're stressed and we feel an overwhelm, we kind of get into this shallow breath space where we're just taking very short, shallow breaths. And sometimes we don't even notice we're doing that. And so what a breathing exercise does is it helps to basically give your body that equilibrium it needs to kind of reset, so that your body, if you're taking deep calming breaths, your body it's signaling to your body that you're not in danger, there's no threat. And so it kind of helps you kind of relax those muscles and unclench your jaw and all that stuff. So it does have an effect. Of course, it's not a cure-all, right? You can't say, well, I'm about to lose my house, let me do some deep breathing and I'll be fine. That's not the way it works. But it can at least calm you down biologically in a way that you can think a little bit more clearly and then start to game plan. So that's why it's effective. And again, try different coping exercises or strategies when you're not in a stressful situation. So when challenges arise, you'll be better prepared to deal with them. So you don't have to wait until crap's hitting the fan to practice these mindful tactics or these mindful practices. You can do it even when you feel like you're doing okay and you're calm, because then it gets you familiar with the process and how it feels. So next, we're going to talk about environmental wellness. So this might be an area that not a lot of us consider when we think about wellness or health, but it does play an important part, and not in just our own lives, but in the lives of the communities that we live in. So the environmental wellness dimension involves being able to feel safe, to be safe and to feel safe. And so this can include access to clean air, food, and water, preserving the areas where we live, learn, and work, occupying pleasant, stimulating environments that support our well-being, and promoting learning, contemplation, and relaxation in natural places and spaces. So I don't know if you're anything like me, if your spaces are not calming, if your spaces are maybe cluttered, or you're not really sure how you're going to access food and water, your basic needs aren't being met, that can cause a lot of stress, a lot of imbalance in our wellness. And so that's kind of what this dimension is kind of focusing on. So improving our environmental wellness, some of you may already be doing some of these things. Some of you may not think that it is a priority right now, and that's okay. Sometimes we can't prioritize every little thing, but here's some ideas just to kind of get you thinking. So green living, just something as simple as recycling. A lot of times, we can get those free bins from our waste removal systems. I know for me in Madison County in Alabama, it's free to get those recycling bins. And so it's not a big deal for me to go ahead and recycle. So that's just a way that you can just kind of make your community cleaner and safer for everybody, not just you. You can look for cleanup efforts, volunteer efforts, so like collecting trash from roadways or parks. Again, that might not be feasible for your schedule or your lifestyle, and that's okay. It's just a suggestion. You can explore the green aisles at your stores, home improvement stores. You can get like energy efficient light bulbs and things like that. And so again, this is just a way for you to feel as though you are participating in a positive way at the community at large. Okay, it's very simple ways that you can get that satisfaction of knowing that you're doing something for others. You can find a change of scenery. So figure out what outdoor activities make you feel good and find a few options that make it easy to do that. Sometimes people don't realize that what they just need is sun in their face and grass in their toes. And so even just going outside barefoot can be a great way to change scenery and improve your emotional wellness by giving you that appreciation of the outdoors and nature. Taking a break to walk around the block and enjoy the sunshine. Or you can visit parks and hiking trails that are new to you. Sometimes, if you're like me and you go out and you do walks in the woods, um, not to say that they get boring after a while, but it's kind of fun to try a new place every once in a while, and just kind of change of scenery can be good for you. And then your home and work environment. So there is a link between clutter in the home and stress. They say that too much clutter in your home can raise your cortisol levels, which is that stress hormone, and of course that can wreak havoc if it's left unchecked. So try seeing decluttering and chores as a form of self-care. Okay, we talked before, self-care sometimes is always defined by these indulgences, but I often feel the most impactful self-care is preparing your space so that you can relax when you're in there. You can get inspired by magazines or websites like Pinterest and find styles that you'd like to incorporate into your living space. Even one small spot that is just for you can be helpful. Okay, so an example would be I do have 5 children, and so getting time and space to myself is very difficult. So my bedroom is my sanctuary. Okay, and so even if it's just changing the linens, getting a new decorative pillow or a candle holder or something to make it special and clean and fun, a good, nice space to be in to relax can be very good for your environmental wellness. So next, we're going to talk about social wellness. Now, this is a dimension that I feel is often neglected unintentionally by caregivers because I know when you are so inundated by caregiving responsibilities and tasks, and maybe your loved one can't be as active out in the community as you are or as they used to be, your social life does tend to suffer in this way. And so when I talk about social wellness, I'm not trying to shame anybody for not having a social circle because I know when I was at home taking care of my family and I couldn't go out and socialize as much as I wanted to. The last thing I needed was some lady on the internet telling me that that was bad for me. So I'm not trying to do that. I just want you to know that any way that you can socialize, be creative is going to be good for your overall wellness. So the social wellness dimension involves having healthy relationships with friends, family, and the community, and having an interest in and concern for the needs of others and humankind. So some ways we can improve our social wellness in the community. So you can ask your doctor, a friend, family member, someone from your congregation, or others in your community about support groups. Support groups can be very helpful, albeit they can be a little intimidating at first if you're not used to it. But there's a lot of community resources that are based on different topics, different struggles perhaps, or ways that you want to improve. And support groups can be a great way to meet new people. So you can look online or local papers for groups that share your interests, like knitting, playing softball, things like that. There's a lot of times I know like Low Mill, I think if you're in this area, it's like an artist expo kind of studio place, and they'll always do community events that are free where you can just go in and you can create art or you can be around people who are artists and have those conversations, and it's a great free way to be out in the community. And then you can pick up the phone and connect with others. Maybe there are some friends or family members that have dropped off or dropped to the wayside over the years, and might not be a bad idea to just reach out and try to reconnect. Meeting new people can be very difficult, but you can sign up for new newsletters to find out what's happening in your area that can make an opportunity or could be an opportunity to make friends. Keep an open mind and exercise your curious inquiry when meeting new people. Okay, I think that's really important because sometimes, well, I shouldn't say sometimes, we're all constantly changing and evolving. And so maybe a friend group that worked for us 10 years ago might not be what we're looking for now. And so keeping an open mind about meeting new people and not automatically, cutting them off or shutting them down because of one or two things that maybe, don't line up exactly with you, keeping an open mind can definitely broaden your circle when it comes to meeting new people. Asking your spiritual community or any other community about volunteer opportunities. A lot of times volunteering is a great way to meet new people, especially like-minded people, because you're working on the same goal and you have the same heart for whatever service you're providing for somebody else. And you can also join meetup groups that are online. Social media has been a great resource for socializing, not just for people that are at home taking care of loved ones, but people who are like me, very introverted, and they don't, we don't like to be around a lot of people and be in crowds. Meeting online is a very safe option for people like me. And then social time. So keep track of when you need to catch up with someone or when a friend or family member is due for a visit. So maybe you've got a sister that you haven't talked to in a couple weeks, reach out, say, hey, I haven't seen you in a while, come over for coffee, right? You can organize a calendar of events that would be good ways to connect or reconnect to friends, like a public concert or a class reunion. I know sometimes if you get an invite, you're thinking, oh, it's going to be such a chore to get this set up for me to leave the house with my loved one. But it does definitely make a difference to have those social times when they do come up, to take advantage of those. So I just encourage you to do that if it does. And you can join or start a book club. That's another option to do social time. If you're not a big reader, that's okay. You can find all kinds of different things that you, whether it's reading different topics. It could be educational book group. It doesn't have to be like romance or drama or crime mysteries. It can just be anything that you're interested in. The next dimension is spiritual wellness. So spiritual wellness dimension is a broad concept that represents your personal beliefs and your values and involves having meaning, purpose, and a sense of balance and peace. It includes recognizing our search for meaning and purpose in our human existence and developing an appreciation for life and the natural forces that exist within the universe. So spiritual wellness is not exclusive to religion and is not exclusive to organized religion or organized spiritual things. It can just be a personal thing that you do on your own. It can be very independent. And so I don't want you to have a visceral reaction to spiritual wellness if that's not the space you're coming from. Okay, spirituality can be an independent practice as well. So improving your spiritual wellness and our beliefs. Read about other types of beliefs to help us become more understanding, accepting, and open-minded. Even if it's not a belief that you subscribe to, there's probably millions of people that do. And so it's always great, at least for me. I love learning about other people and other beliefs. And it's just a good way to keep your mind open. Keep your beliefs and your thoughts and use them in your everyday life. So if you have a spiritual practice already established, if you have, a meditation practice or prayer practice, make sure you make time for those things, right? And it doesn't have to take all day long. It could just be, 5 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night, something like that. Share your beliefs, values, and principles with others as appropriate, and as a means of deepening relationships and expanding your worldview. Next, involvement. You can learn about different organizations or groups in your community and decide which ones are best fit for you. And find out about the many groups offered within your organization and get involved. A lot of times, if you're already part of a religious group or spiritual group and they have, community outreach, or they have, dinners every month, or they try to get people involved more, take advantage of those when they come up. And then next time, as often as possible, find a peaceful location to reflect and meditate. Learn other religions through books or conversations, and create rituals that mean something to you, okay? And again, we're talking about whole health wellness. So some of these things, some of these tips may overlap, and that's the point. They're kind of all interconnected. So next is financial wellness. So there's many definitions of what constitutes being financially well, but overall financial wellness dimension involves things such as income, your debt, and your savings, as well as your understanding of financial processes and resources, which I think can get kind of complicated, especially if you're trying to navigate things like Social Security or Medicaid and Medicare, or even just, your local hospital can be very complex. So knowing about those financial processes and resources can be part of your financial wellness practice. A person's satisfaction with their current financial situation and future prospects also come into play, okay? So how can we improve our financial wellness? It seems almost impossible nowadays. I'll just be honest with you. The cost of everything is just skyrocketing, and people aren't getting paid anymore. And so it's very frustrating, but there are ways that we can take steps to improve our wellness in this area. So balancing our checkbook and our bank accounts often so that we know we're not overextending ourselves. I know when I was younger and just starting out, I would always check my bank balance, and I did not have any understanding of pending transactions. And so I'd think, oh, I've got $300 in the bank. And then I'd go buy something. And then here comes all the overdraft fees because all those bills that were pending, they went through, and whoops, right? So again, just being aware of what those, what you actually have in your bank account rather than what the statement says. Be sure your savings are in line with your life goals. So like taking vacations, owning a home, or retirement. Just make sure that if you have the capacity to save, that you're saving for those things that make sense with your life goals. Have a weekly or monthly budget so you can plan for expenses such as rent and groceries and have a little left over to enjoy. So I know that you guys are all probably already doing that, but sometimes it's good to just have maybe on paper what I have to spend, what I have to spend it on, what I prioritize. And sometimes you can find, hey, I didn't realize I was spending, $100 a month on fast food. I didn't realize that I had all these subscription services to Netflix and whatever else that was costing me X amount of dollars a month. And so sometimes even just having it out on paper can alleviate a lot of stress, because then you know exactly what you're facing, right? You're not ignoring it, and it's not becoming this big monster in your mind, right? Next, debt. Figure out your total debt and plan a way to pay it down in a manageable way. And you can do that by getting help from people that specialize in money management or personal finances. Sometimes it could be a professional, sometimes it could just be a good friend or family member who just knows more about this stuff than you do, and you can have them come in and assist you. Consider asking your bank to help you with financial planning and other areas where you may want assistance. There's a lot of resources available if you just ask about it. A lot of times they're not advertised, but if you just ask somebody, hey, how can I get this debt under control? What programs are available for me? You'll be surprised at what you can find. Next, retirement and other accounts. So there are free or low cost services that can help you plan for the future. The local library can often direct you to affordable financial planning resources. The library is a great resource for all sorts of stuff like this because they are a community service. They're free. They're there to help people in the area. And so you'd be surprised at what you can find from the library. You can open a savings account or another kind of account that works for you. There's a lot of different types of savings accounts that maybe offer you more higher interest, that you're going to gain on your savings than maybe your bank is offering you. And so you don't have to just be stuck with one set. Next, if you're receiving disability benefits, it's very important to know that there is a limit on how much you can save without affecting your benefits. So again, just trying to become more knowledgeable and aware of what's available to you and what resources you have can go a long way in improving your financial wellness, not only in the actual money that you have, but just the mental energy that you're expending on stressing about your finances. Next, we're going to talk about intellectual wellness. This is probably one of my favorite dimensions because I am a total nerd when it comes to learning anything and everything. So intellectual wellness is an area that I really, I just love. So the intellectual wellness dimension involves many things that keep our brains active and our intellect expanding. So in a broad sense, this dimension can involve looking at different perspectives of an issue and taking them into consideration. Through a number of activities, from learning about current events to organizing game nights in your home or your community center, you can broaden your perspective and understand diverse points of view. And I think that's definitely desperately needed a lot in today's day and age for sure. So how can we improve our intellectual wellness? So our personal interests. Find a community group or organization where you could teach a class or a workshop or lead discussion, or even just participate in that. You don't have to be the one up there talking to everybody about everything. You can just listen. That's good too. Consider becoming a member at the local public library to gain access to books, book reading, and other events. A lot of times the libraries will offer free audiobooks too, so you don't have to worry about late fees or anything like that, or even going to the library. You can just look it up online and download it and you're good to go. Explore public events in your community by checking out events section in the newspaper online, and sign up for a computer class. even if it's not anything that you're super interested in. It could just be something that you can do to broaden your understanding, broaden your perspective, and get those brain muscles kind of flexing a little bit. Education, check out a local college website for information on classes that they offer to the public. A lot of times campuses will have free workshops available for people that are short term, or maybe even just like a one-day thing, and that can be fun to go and just learn something new. See what kind of skills or training, such as writing, sign language, blogging, might be available at your library, local congregations, colleges, or other community organizations. I know that there's actually a nonprofit community center by where I live, and they often offer free sign language classes or free mental health classes, workshops, things like that. So there's a lot of ways that you can go out into the community and find free education opportunities. And then brain exercises. So I think a lot of times people will kind of turn their nose up at like puzzle games or apps, but they really can help kind of get your brain moving and thinking in a different way. So many games and apps are good for your brain, like Sudoku, puzzle games, or trivia even. Reading or listening to audiobooks on topics that are interesting to you is a good way to get your brain flexing. And you can even listen to podcasts that feature experts or even enthusiasts, people that are excited to tell you about what they're excited about. Can be a great way to broaden your perspective, broaden your understanding on different topics, and just kind of keep your brain healthy and active. And the last dimension is the physical wellness dimension. So this is probably the one people think about the most when they think about wellness, is just keeping yourself healthy and in good physical health. Maintaining your nutrition, your exercise, preventative health care, things like that. So that makes up that dimension of wellness. So a few ways we can get there might be choosing things that make our body feel good and trimming back on things that bring us down. So we can also feel better by creating a routine that balances activity with inactivity, which, you know, is easier said than done in a lot of ways, but that's something that's manageable within our obligations and our needs. So our body is intelligent, and learning to listen to it more deeply may be very important and empowering. I think a lot of times we ignore our bodies and what they're trying to tell us by either doing things that are numbing to it, or just disregarding, you know, the pains and the aches that we feel and not trying to uncover like, why are we feeling this way? And so I'm a huge proponent for reconnecting with our physical selves for our overall wellness. So there's going to be 2 slides that I'm going to have for improving our physical wellness, because there is so much involved. So, and this is the realm that gets the most attention in the wellness arena, because it can be pretty difficult to address the other aspects of our lives as far as wellness is concerned if we're not feeling our best physically, right? It's like, oh, I know I need to go to this thing, you know, for my mental health, but my body hurts and I'm not leaving the house, right? So this is obviously a very important dimension in our overall wellness. So it is important to move our body, to eat nutritious foods, minimize harmful habits like smoking, and seeing our doctor regularly to make sure we're getting all the proper screens that we need to prevent illnesses or severity of illnesses that are coming down the pipeline. Watching what we put into our body, how much activity we get, all of that, just to keep our bodies working properly. We have to take care of our meat suit every now and again, right? So one way we can improve our nutrition, we can check out local food co-ops if there's one in our area for good, affordable food, especially this time of year. There's a lot of farmers markets and co-ops that provide low cost or free produce to the community, and that could be a great way to get some leafy greens and all that fun stuff into your diet. A balanced diet includes food items from all 5 food groups, okay? A nutritional diet includes the 6 essential nutrients of proteins, carbs, fats, vitamins, minerals, and water. I know sometimes, especially if you're in my age group or maybe a little older, being told to eat carbs and fats can be a little like, ooh, what? Because that's not what we were taught, right? They were taught that those are bad. But no, our body does actually need those. We just want to make sure that they're the good ones, right? The good fats and the good carbohydrates, okay? A balanced and nutritional diet includes a variety of foods and nutrients. And I will tell you a personal story. I have children that almost all of them have food aversions. And so we have safe foods that we know that they can eat, that they can stomach, that they're not going to, you know, have a meltdown over. And so it can be difficult to get a lot of the variety into their diet that we would like for them to have. So just do what you can, okay? If you have a loved one who maybe has a very restricted diet, it might be easier because this is what the doctor says, and they might be more likely to listen than if it's just you telling them. But do what you can, and don't shame yourself for not being able to do it if you can't, okay? Just do what you can as best as you can. Physical activity. So you can do aerobic exercises. So that's any exercise that improves endurance by increasing our heart rate. I think the recommended is like 10 to 30 minutes of getting your heart rate up every other day or something like that. You don't have to go and run, 5 miles to get aerobic exercise. Okay, so anything. So that could be dancing, that could be jumping rope, that could be going for a brisk walk. Okay, gardening sometimes can get your heart rate up. So anything that improves your heart health is going to be considered aerobic. Muscle strengthening. So any exercise that allows you to build muscle and strength, which is very critical as we age to make sure that we can do fall preventions is really something we want to be mindful of when we do strength training that can help prevent some of that later on in life. Bone strengthening, so anything that makes your bones stronger. So was load bearing muscle or weight, anything that you do with weights can strengthen your bones. So that could be using dumbbells, that could be doing squats, anything like that that's going to cause your muscles to have to, bear some weight is going to strengthen them. And then flexibility. So anything that stretches the muscles of the body. So focusing regularly on stretching the legs, hips, back, abdomen, chest, shoulders, necks, and arms. And so this can be something you can do without any equipment. And you just want to make sure you take your time. Don't push yourself. If you start to feel pain, obviously you want to stop and talk with your doctor if they have any specific restrictions for you on your physical activity. And then, of course, sleep. Sleep is where all of the effort we put into our bodies is kind of processed, right? And that's just not just through our physical bodies, but also our mental capacities, our brain. A lot of that is restored through sleep. So it's very important to try to get as much sleep as we can within reason. So try managing our routine to carve out time to rest and sleep and cut back on caffeine. I bristle at that because I drink several cups of coffee a day, but I know I need to cut back on it. Establish relaxing bedtime routines like reading a book or listening to calming music, or even taking a warm bath or a hot shower can be very relaxing towards bedtime. And limit exposure to screens before bedtime because that blue light that is emitted from those screens can interfere with our sleep cycle. So our brains will think that it's daytime when it's actually nighttime. So it's good to just kind of cut that down before we go to bed because it can keep us awake longer than we'd like to be. Avoiding alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. So if you choose to drink alcohol, do so in moderation. And moderation means adults who choose to drink alcohol should limit that intake to 1 drink or less per day for women and 2 drinks or less per day for men. And the only reason it's different is because typically female bodies are smaller than male bodies. And so it's going to take a little less for you to feel the effects than it would be for someone who's bigger than you. So, of course, you can talk with your doctor and find out what's appropriate for you. For smoking, the best choice is to quit completely. Smoking has dropped dramatically over the last several decades as a lot of public spaces have prohibited smoking. A lot of restaurants, they don't have the smoking section anymore. And so a lot of people have just decided not to smoke because of that education and the inconvenience of it. But there are people who do still smoke. And so if that's you, try to do the best you can with quitting or at least cutting back. You can reach out to health professionals or local support groups to help with the quitting process, which can be challenging, but it is immensely beneficial to your health, okay? Next, stay hydrated. A lot of times we don't drink enough water, and water is what gives us life. And so it keeps our brains healthy, keeps our circulatory systems healthy, it keeps every part of our body healthy. So drink water when you can. The general recommendation is 2 liters of water per day. Remember that your needs can vary based on your physical activity level, your age, and other factors, okay? Make it a habit to carry a water bottle with you wherever you go. That's been the number one reason that I've been able to increase my water intake, is because I have it on me every time I go out of the house. And if you find plain water unappealing, you can enhance its flavor by using fruits. A lot of times they've got those little water drops you can get at the grocery store. My kids love those because they don't like plain water and they're not super expensive. And so that could be a way to encourage you to want to go ahead and drink more water. And then preventative medicine. So discuss preventative healthcare with your doctor, your dentist, or your other healthcare provider. I know, especially if you're taking care of a loved one and they're always going to the doctor and you're always working on their physical needs and their medicine, it can be kind of, ugh, when it comes to your own, because you're like, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to walk into another doctor's office if I don't have to. But again, taking care of yourself is taking care of your loved one. Okay. And so you want to make sure that you are on the up and up with your health. You're getting all the screens that you need. You're getting that health care for yourself so that you can be around and healthy to take care of your loved one. Proactive engagement with your health is far better than reactive healthcare. So that's basically saying keep yourself healthy so that way you don't have to struggle to get the cure, right? So if you can avoid the disease, you don't have to worry about the cure. And lastly, regular health checkups are key to preventing diseases and catching any potential issues early. I'm sure we can all relate to that. Maybe we have someone in our own lives, maybe it's been us, maybe we've heard stories where it's like, oh, well, they had, XYZ going on and they had no idea. And by the time they found out, it was too late for treatment. Okay, that's a very common scenario that we can avoid if we just prioritize getting those screens and getting that preventative health care. So that is the info I have for you today. I'll go ahead and stop my share. Some of that may have been redundant information that you already knew, that you're already doing. But again, the goal wasn't to give you a step-by-step on how to be well. It was just to encourage you to consider that wellness is not just about your physical body. It can be your emotional, your environmental, your spiritual wellness. And each factor plays a role in whole health. And when we're out of balance in one area, it can be like a domino effect in all the others. So I'll go ahead and stop my share here or my recording.